start 10 minutes early. Hello, just me. Just me's going to be on the replay, and there's going to be many that's going to be on the replay. OKJ said I would try to get with y'all the evening after trial and all that, but something came up. My mother's cat, Miss Kitty, passed away yesterday, and I just wasn't in the mood to get online or anything like that. And she was a wonderful cat. I've got it memorialized on this YouTube channel of all the times she had to put up with my singing. She came to Wayne and I after my mother died. She was already elderly, and she lasted a little over 4 years here. She was spoiled and all of that. She died peacefully from old age. I thought I'd be more upset because it was my mother's cat, but I knew. I knew she was going to pass sooner or later, just as all my fur babies are going to pass sooner or later. But she was a good cat, and I'm going to miss her. But it all actually really turned out to be something better than I thought, in that because I didn't come to y'all yesterday evening and decided to do coffee with KJ in the morning, it gives us all a chance to really absorb what we've heard in court. There's all kinds of people online who can do a recap of the day's trial in the evening, and so I thought, okay, every day after trial, the next morning, I'll do a coffee with KJ, and that'll give your brain a rest, and it'll give my brain a rest, and we can talk about things. Does that sound okay with all of y'all? I hope so. And like I said, many of y'all are going to come back on the rewatch. You're not going to be here on the live, and that's fine. I'm just here to get a little justice through understanding and drink some coffee with friends. Hello, Fancy Nancy, Chris Arnett, Cindy Arnold, Leanne Forsberg, Stephanie Willow, I guess I said Chris Arnett. I'm still waking up, y'all. Teresa Moore, Tina Reddington. Hello, all y'all. Well, is she going to cross-examine Brandon today? Right? Good question. I think I want to start off by saying she sure seemed like she was in pretty good health yesterday, don't y'all think? For someone who was dying in a wheelchair, basically, on Monday, and who walked into court. I finally got to see her walk into court on Wednesday. She really did look like she had a corn cob up her ass. Maybe that she'd been sitting in that wheelchair the whole time, and then she had to get up and walk in there. I don't know. I have no idea why that woman walked that way. She sure didn't walk that way when she went up to the podium there to cross-examine Brandon or any of the other. Well, she didn't cross-examine him, but the other witnesses, she seemed like she was just fine and dandy, huh? Hello, Michelle Flanagan. Hello, Jax Gustafson. Sam Willow says, I know the feeling of loss of a loved pet, but their short lives are so worth it. Yes, Sand. She was a good cat. She was fun. It was almost like holding on to a little bit of love that my mother had, because she loved that cat. She absolutely loved that cat. But life does go on, right? Good morning, NF Mom. So here, they're going to start an hour early in Arizona, I guess here in the next couple of hours. So I won't take up too much of y'all's time. Although I will say, I do believe you'll find all of what I've got to say about yesterday's first day in trial with the hooker. I think you might, learn something, or maybe you can teach me something, but I think I've learned a few things. It doesn't get past me that during this time, this crime was being orchestrated, and even where Alex was trying to kill Brandon and stuff, that Lori absolutely knew. She knew the children were already dead. So you think about what's on her mind. And Alex had to know that the children were dead. Uh, Chad knew the children were dead. How about Melanie Pawlowski? We'll get to her. We will get to her today because OKJ feels like maybe I've learned something that I didn't know, and maybe you know it. And I just didn't catch it during all these years of covering this case. Well, let's go into the hooker's opening statement, all right? And these are just my notes. Because if you want to go back and listen to her opening statement and apply it with different evidence and empirical evidence that you already know, it's going to sound really different, especially pertaining to Melanie Pawlowski. All right. Hello, Jules. Hello, Vix Tech. Hello, Canyon Jam. So these are, again, just notes. It's not exhaustive. It's just what I felt like jumped out at me, okay? Well, so she goes into her opening statement, and she wants to talk about conspiracy as it relates to figures in the Holy Bible. Examples such as Judas against Jesus, Cain against Abel. Y'all know there was objection from Trina K, but let's just go down this line of thinking. Is there anywhere in Holy Scripture where it says mothers against their own children? Because I'm telling you what, that's exactly what this hooker was all about. She wants to bring up Judas against Jesus. She wants to bring up Cain wanting to kill Abel. And here her ass is a mother who absolutely murdered her children. She knows as she is bringing this out, and you've got to ask the question, why bring in the Bible now? Why bring the Bible in now? Your ass didn't even look at the 10 Commandments where you broke every damn one of them, basically. And that's not me judging her. That is just, you see what you see. It's no different than if you see someone steal a candy bar right there in front of your eyes, and you can say they are a thief. That's not judging them. Man's law will judge that shoplifter and either arrest them or fine them or something like that. Well, this hooker, she wants to bring in the Holy Bible. Give me a break. She has misused the Holy Bible, her stupid other stuff. It's crazy. So then she gets to this point where she said she had no animosity towards Brandon, no personal motivation to have Brandon harmed. And that is a crock of shit. Because she absolutely did tell Melanie Pawlowski all this stupid stuff about him being gay and trying to get her temple recommend taken away and all this other stupid stuff. Melanie Pawlowski could not just come up with this out of nowhere. This all had to do with Lori. But there's also something I want to point out as we move forward. Lori says that Melanie Pawlowski and her are close. Does that mean today? Is Melanie Pawlowski, is she still taking up for her Aunt Lori? Why isn't Melanie Pawlowski being brought in, huh? If Lori wants to bring in Zulema and Melanie Gibb, why not put Melanie Pawlowski on her witness list? Lori goes on to tell the jurors in her opening statement that she was very close with all four of Melanie and Brandon's children. Oh, she was so close to them, wasn't she? She was so close to them that she would take her two children away from those four children right there. It is absolutely creepy that she would say that in an opening statement. We all know she wants the jury to believe she's just this wonderful person. She asks a question after she says, uh, Brandon immediately blamed me. Was I the enemy? She was the enemy. She is the enemy today. Because again, y'all, as she's doing her opening statement, she knows good and damn well she's guilty. She knows good and damn well. She goes into this stuff about, oh, what's the Jeep green? Was it a blue Jeep? Was it a gray Jeep? Well, what's she saying here, y'all? What is she saying? That a different person in a different color Jeep, other than the one Alex was driving, which belonged to Tylee because Charles had given that Jeep to Tylee, that somehow someone in a different Jeep that a neighbor saw, that Brandon saw, a totally different person, say in a blue or gray Jeep, shot at Brandon, but it was such a coincidence that at the same damn time, Alex is in a Jeep, which they've got on those LPRs, those license plate readers and GPS and all that other stuff. At the same damn time, Alex is there in another Jeep. He's not there trying to shoot at Brandon, but he's in Arizona. But it's got to be a gray or blue Jeep, and someone just so happened. And by the way, they find GSR, gunshot residue, in the back of that Jeep that Alex was driving, and that Alex was there, pure and simple. So she can take that little argument and shove it so far up her ass it winks at her. Then she goes into all this bullshit about the private investigator that Brandon hired and Detective Pillar shitting all over their credibility. I mean, I watched Nate Eaton's interview with Brandon's private investigator, and it enlightened me a lot. I watched that on Cresha K. Easton's Difficult Research when she played it. But this whole idea of trying to shit all over Detective Pillar and this private investigator, and then to go so far as to say that Brandon and Detective Pillar was conspiring against her to set her up, guess what, y'all? Guess what? It harkens back to somebody else, pretty much saying the same exact thing. Wonder who that is. It's Melanie Pawlowski. Melanie Pawlowski said the same damn thing that when she heard in her interview, when she had her interview the day after Brandon was shot at, she talks about when she heard, this was her interview with Nate Eaton, with her and Ian Pawlowski. Y'all remember she did that one. She says, well, when they brought up Lori and Alex, it just seemed to me that they were trying to set them up. So there you go. It's an echo. It's an echo of a bald-faced lie. Oh, yeah, a law enforcement officer and an investigator's just going to try to set someone up. Give me a break. But then she goes into this whole thing about Melanie Pawlowski hasn't been charged with a crime. She's been named as a co-conspirator. And you know what, y'all? It still has not... there's nothing that I can even possibly think of for why Melanie Pawlowski has not been arrested. Lori says, I'm the only one being charged with a crime. Well, guess what, Lori? Alex is deader than a doornail. He shit all over himself in the bathroom at Zulima's and died there. You got Chad on death row, so, yes, we all talked about it. Chad should have been charged, but he's on death row. Melanie Pawlowski should have been charged, but that does not mean that Lori is less guilty or not guilty of conspiracy to attempt to murder Brandon Boudreaux. So she can, again, shit in one hand and hope in another. Then she wants these jurors to believe in her opening statement. She says, was it a crime at all? Did a shooting occur? Only Brandon claims that it did. Only Brandon names me and Alex. Brandon owned a gun. Brandon knew how to shoot. What the hell is she saying? That Brandon shot his own damn car and set the whole damn thing up? He shot his own car, and at the same damn time that day, Alex has been proven to be there with gunshot residue in the back of the freaking Jeep. And, it's just pathetic. What she wants these jurors to believe that Brandon Boudreaux he was in a nasty divorce, so he shot his own vehicle and then blamed it on Alex and Lori. Well, how about this? She says Brandon blamed her for the divorce between him and Melanie Pawlowski. Yes, he did in a lot of ways, but you know what he should have done? He should have been blaming his damn wife of 10 years. And Melanie Pawlowski just wanted some excuse to get out of her responsibility as his wife, pure and simple. So when Lori said, "Oh, he's trying to take my table recommend away. He's gay. He's this and that," Melanie Pawlowski, was she a good wife to her husband Brandon to just immediately believe Lori and not even give a rat's ass about her husband, who they had 4 kids together? So I blame Lori for the problems that Brandon and Melanie Pawlowski had, but I also blame Melanie Pawlowski because she was the freaking wife of Brandon, and she should have stood by her husband, went and got some freaking marriage counseling or something. Stay the hell away from that hooker. Again, she says, "I'm the only one charged, and I'm the only one who is being asked to pay the consequences of this crime." What the hell does that matter? What does that matter? And why put it that way? If that is really her, it could be a defense. Oh, there were other people, jury. How does anyone really know it was me and Alex that conspired to try to murder Brandon? It could have been my niece. It could have been anyone. But no, she is sitting there letting them know that of all the people that's involved in all this, and yes, they were involved, all this cult, all these people, Melanie Pawlowski, Melanie Gibbs, Ulema, Chad, all of them, they knew the deal. They knew the deal. Then she goes into this metaphor of it's a power struggle between the state and the defendant. Let me tell y'all something. The only power struggle this hooker ever should really look at is truthfully look at a power struggle. It's the struggle within herself to hold on to that demon and all those lies and all that nasty stuff and all that evil stuff she did. She says, "What motivation would I have? What malice have I ever shown anyone? What benefit would I gain?" Well, how about this, Lori? Malice is defined as the intention or desire to do evil, to have ill will towards someone, to do someone harm. And here she is, y'all. She says, "What malice have I ever shown anyone? Give me a break." It was all about malice, the serial killer hooker that she is. She is so pathetic, y'all. I'm a person who loves all people and has had no malice toward anyone. That is a bald-faced lie. She knew damn well that Tylee was murdered because she gave the okay. JJ was murdered. She gave the okay. She was their mother. She went along with conspiring for Tammy because, hell, they couldn't get no money from Charles. They couldn't get no money from Brandon. They had to have the money. The intention or desire to do evil, have ill will towards someone or do someone harm is malice. And here she is, y'all. She's had no malice towards anyone. That is a lie. Pure and simple. Pure and simple. I'm all about spreading love and will continue to do so. Spreading love. I don't know what kind of love she's talking about. God is love. And someone, and I can't remember who you are, but you know you said it, said that God is love, and if it's not of God, it's not love. And this, everything she's done, standing up there and opening statements, lying through her freaking teeth, doing all that, that's not love. So she'll lie about everything else, and her behavior and her serial killing nature, and especially her narcissism and demon possession, there ain't no damn way that she can spread love. The only way this hooker can spread love if she confessed with her mouth and told the truth about everything and accepted personal responsibility for her actions. Jet Set J says the only thing that Lori spreads is her legs. That's a good one, Jet Set J. So, we all knew her opening. I mean, it was objection left and right. She was trying to testify. She was trying to argue. She was trying to bring up arguments about stuff that didn't matter. And then, of course, we heard that she filed another motion yesterday. And that motion was wanting to continue to try to get Judge Boreski off the case. This woman is never going to stop. And make no mistake, y'all. I said that after she's convicted and all that, she'll do her appeal. She'll bring up this bias and prejudice of Judge Boreski while she was sick. Well, her motion now that I'm sure is going to be made public and talked about in court outside of the jury's presence is that she feels like the judge has persecuted her or prejudiced or anything because she was sick. That's what it's going to be. So she's working overtime to try to get Judge Boreski off the case. And back to this, I didn't have anything to gain and all that. Well, y'all do remember, I think it was Melanie Gibb or it could have been Zulema, where they talked about there's plenty of money for Melanie Pawlowski. Well, that was the sale of that house. And Brandon's testimony yesterday talked about it was $1 million house. Now, whether they got $1 million or not, I don't know. But they sure as hell got a big chunk of money, and he had to split that 50-50. You think Lori wanted Melanie Pawlowski, or do you think Melanie Pawlowski wanted only 50% of the sale of that house? Oh, no. And by the way, wasn't Chad Daybell saying, I'm going to go clear the bad spirits out of your place there, Melanie Pawlowski? Was that the house, or was that her new rental? I don't know. But that's a good reason. People think, oh, KJ, it was Brandon's life insurance policy. And yeah, I'm sure that probably was a motivation, but it was also the sale of that house. If it sold for $1 million, Melanie Pawlowski would get $500,000. Wasn't it them saying Melanie Pawlowski had all this money? Oh, Lori needed that money. And Lori used Melanie Pawlowski, and Melanie Pawlowski played right along with it. So let's roll this back a little bit now that Lori wants to talk about Melanie Pawlowski has not been charged, but they're so close, and she's an unindicted co-conspirator, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes you have to look back on things that's happened in order to show and focus in on what really is going on today, i.e. Lori's opening statement, the way she's dealing with all this and all of that. And I want to go back to May of 2020, and y'all remember Lori was already in jail and all that, and Ian Pawlowski and Melanie Pawlowski there was having an interview with Nate Eaton. Now, as I read this, and please just bear with me, because what you experienced yesterday in Lori's opening statement, along with Brandon Boudreaux's testimony, Lori's going to cross-examine him, right? I think she might do it today, but anyway, let's just focus in on Brandon Boudreaux, the shooting, and all of this and that. And let me read this and just kind of lay those across each other here. Nate Eaton asked Melanie P., when is the last time you saw JJ and Tylee? Melanie says, Ian has never met them, but the last time I saw them, they were packing up their home in Chandler where Charles had been shot. I remember how emotional it was just to be there. It was where this big thing happened, and Tylee thought it was hard being in the house after the situation happened. And Lori, sometimes she had to do things to protect the kids. The court systems haven't protected her, and Tylee and Kobe were abused by their dad, Joe. the court system didn't protect them, and she had this history of doing everything she could to protect Tylee and JJ. I've always seen that in her since I was a teenager, and she flew me out to go nanny for Tylee and JJ. I've never seen any evidence or anything at all that tells me that Lori would purposely harm her children. It's hard, all the attacks out there. I still see her as the wonderful mom she is. When I see her come in court, I'm looking for something that's off that I'm not seeing, because I've had every fear of where they could be, but the last time I saw them was the end of August as they were moving, because I think they moved up the first week in September. Nate Eaton said, did you visit Lori in Rexburg before you moved there? Now we're moving in to this whole thing. Brandon, remember Brandon was going to have his kids for that weekend. Melanie Pawlowski was going out of town. You know all that. She said, I did. I think on a weekend, my ex, Brandon Boudreaux, and I had 50-50 custody. And so anytime it wasn't my time with the kids, I was a wreck and just missed my kids. I'd try to go hike in Arizona or go on a trip. And I did go visit Lori for a weekend up there in Rexburg. She said, just come. Try out somewhere new and come see if you like it up here. We toured BYU, Idaho, and she said Tylee was with her friends. She always was with her friends, so I didn't ask any questions about that. And JJ is either doing some type of therapy or with a nanny or in a school that will help him. So if I didn't see him, I wasn't asking, where is he? I just have always trusted her. I had known that they left to Idaho because they were being threatened by people. I didn't want to ask so many questions, and I didn't know what to do with that. And I was just there for love and support. And I just wanted to be there to help Lori. Y'all, does it make sense now? Then you moved up in November, says Eaton. You didn't see the kids at all. Did you think that was a little suspicious, a little weird? I could understand not seeing them 1 or 2 days, but after days and days go by and Tylee's Jeep isn't there, did you ever ask Lori, hey, where are Tylee and JJ? Now let's stop there. Y'all remember there was testimony yesterday from one of the detectives about the Jeep being impounded. Think about all that. Think about the dates of that. And Nate Eaton, all the way back in 2020, is bringing in the Jeep to Melanie Pawlowski. And let's not forget, who was it? Was it that private investigator that told Nate Eaton that nobody reported Tylee's Jeep missing once it was impounded? Very good observation, huh? So, did you ever ask Lori, hey, where are Tylee and JJ? And Melanie Pawlowski says, when I moved up that first week in November, Alex helped me move on Halloween night. We drove up that first week in November with a moving truck. I was very involved in setting up my home and getting everything for my kids. I did bring all the things they do need with them besides a mattress that had stains on it, broken toys and outgrown clothes that I left out front. It was not all their belongings. I just took everything that was important to us to consolidate into a smaller apartment. I was getting my home ready. I was going to figure out what's going on with my kids and get them back here. Does she bring up anything at all about the shooting? Really? And why she wanted to get her kids back? Did she tell Nate any of these things? She says, and Lori is very independent, doing her own thing. She was next door, but I spent most of my time with Alex. Alex would come over and hang out with me. Those days were hard and teary, missing my kids, and he would come over and lift me up. So if I saw Lori, she was still moving in and getting situated, so I didn't spend a lot of time over there. I did see some of their things, and she had a room set up perfectly for Tylee and JJ, and it didn't seem strange to me. I knew the threat she was getting from Kay Woodcock. and from others. And I guess I didn't ask questions because I knew that history. I knew what was going on, and in my own head, I was trying to figure out where my own kids were. And she goes on to bash Kay Woodcock about everything, saying Kay didn't want to be with JJ and all of this stuff, just bashing Kay Woodcock. Think about that. So Nate Eaton, let's get to the nitty gritty. Nate Eaton gets to the point where he's talking about the attempted shooting of Brandon Boudreaux. Nate says, "Do you think it was Alex?" He asked this to Melanie Pawlowski. She said, "The first meeting with Detective Pillar the day after the shooting, I said, here's all the people Brandon associates with. Then he, Detective Pillar, y'all, asked if I had Lori or Alex's number, and I gave it to him." Well, folks, go and look up the interview notes and the conclusions in the report of her interview with Detective Pillar. When he asked her for Alex and Lori's number, she said in the interview, and you can either listen to her say it or you can see it in his notes, she wouldn't give the number of Lori and Alex or any personal information at all. So she's sitting here lying to Nate Eaton. Pure and simple. That's what we want to get to. We want to get to some facts here. Again, does she talk to Nate Eaton at this May of 2020 interview about her being busted for trespassing and arrested at Brandon's parents' house there as she walked into the garage? She doesn't talk to Nate about that at all. And again, she lies to Nate Eaton in her interview about, she says, then he asked if I had Lori or Alex's number, and I gave it to him. She did not. She told Detective Pillar, I don't want them being tracked and all this other stuff. So she's lying. But when I heard that he wanted Lori and Alex's number, here it is, y'all. Echo, echo, echo. It sounded like Brandon was trying to set them up or something. I know they don't have anything to do with it, the shooting, y'all. So now Lori is saying that Detective Pillar and Brandon conspired to set her up, but you got all the way back in 2020, y'all. Melanie Pawlowski talking to Nate Eaton, telling him that she felt like that Brandon was trying to set Lori and Alex up. Later on in December, Alex passed away, and then on Christmas, I get a phone call from Brandon, and I had to listen to him bullying me for an hour and threatening me and saying I had to go to the FBI and say that Alex shot at him. Now let's stop there. Go and look at Melanie Pawlowski's document that her attorney had filed about the divorce going on, and in that, on one of the line items, it says that Brandon did. This is Melanie Pawlowski and her attorney talking to a court, saying this is what Brandon's doing to her. Would only briefly talk, let the kids talk to Melanie Pawlowski on Christmas. And here she is saying she got a phone call for over an hour. Now, was that a whole hour of just hearing him talking and only a brief moment with the kids? I don't know, but to say in a legal document that it was only a brief phone call, well, it says right here it was over an hour. And she says, I had to listen to him bully me for an hour and threaten me and saying I had to go to the FBI and say that Alex shot him. And I said, I don't know that, Brandon. And he's like, if you ever want to see your kids again, you have to go and tell them that. This is her making up bullshit, basically. Why did they never call Alex or say, can you come in and meet with us? We have some questions for you. And that's a good question, y'all. If Alex was suspected of shooting at Brandon and they were gathering all this evidence, why not have an interview with Alex? Well, maybe, perhaps, they were investigating and they wanted to see how Alex was going to react. And maybe they didn't need his freaking interview. Or maybe they wanted to interview him but knew that he would never agree to that. Brandon was so sure, but his story kept changing. Still to this day, I don't know what happened in the shooting. He had my dad on board sending me text messages saying, "Sentencing is coming soon for you." They know it was Alex. They know it was this Jeep registered to Tiley. I've been trying to put the pieces together of what's been going on because I don't have the facts. But the knowledge that I do have, it doesn't add up to all the speculation and rumors that are flying around. To this day, I have not seen one shred of evidence about this shooting Brandon's claiming that leads me to believe that it was Alex Cox. And I know that was in 2020, y'all. But I guess the question is when was that storage unit video released by Nate Eaton and East Idaho News? Did she not see that? Does she really not know if there's any evidence at all of Alex Cox's involvement in any of this? CSI Crowdsource Illumination said I'd be right up there testifying of if I were in Melanie's shoes. Wasn't Melanie attempting to invade her in-laws' home on Christmas? I think it was in November that she got busted. I think it was November. Correct me if I'm wrong. Sometime in the late November there. I think it was November 23rd or something like that. CSI says, why isn't Melanie so beside herself angry that Lori tried killing her children's father? That's the normal response. Well, how about this, CSI? Try this on for size. They were only just fears of Melanie Pawlowski. It wasn't nothing real that she really knew any information. But that fear, those fears, the whole thing about Chad saying it was just right above his head. It missed his head by inches. And, all of this other stuff about JJ and Tylee being zombies, all these terrible fears. And all of it was actually the truth. Oh, she's psychic, I guess. She knew damn well. She absolutely knew damn well. And I'll tell you something else. Ian Pawlowski, he has to know today that her fears and all that bullshit, it all came to fruition. And he's still married to that girl. Oh my God. See you seeking justice. Linda S., I don't think Melanie Pawlowski's even on a witness list. Somebody correct me. Correct me. Is Melanie Pawlowski on the witness list for the state or for Lori? Somebody put it in the comments here. I don't think so. It was Melanie Gibb and Zulema. And I guess the question is if they've been served and they got to be there, what in the world could Zulema and Melanie Gibb contribute in defense testimony there to save Lori's ass? Give me a break. Lena Howery says no, Melanie Pawlowski is not on the witness list. Right, NF Mom. Exactly. Melanie Pawlowski wants to be sure. I thought it was it David Warwick and Melanie Gibb? Or, no, it was David Warwick talked about he had seen some stuff, and all of that as well. Forget Minute says, may all your wishes blossom into reality. Katie and James, I don't think she only had 4 defense witnesses. One is an expert, Melanie Gibbs, Zulema, and I don't know who the other one is. Somebody put in the comments if you know Lori's 4 defense witnesses. Yeah, she was in the garage, CSI. Hello, Ryan Kelly. Yeah, Vic's text. David Warwick did see hell of a lot. Hello, Mark McGarry. So, I think maybe, I've been wrong many times. Lori's going to cross-examine Brandon today, I think. I hope. What could she possibly do? She's already laid out. It could have been Brandon shooting his own car. It could have been another Jeep. It could have been not even a shooting at all. She talks about this bullshit about y'all didn't test those fragments. That didn't fly at all. Samuela says, what would Gibb and Zulema have to do with this? Great point. Think about it. All I can think is October the 2nd, the shooting and all of that. This was in the heat of Zulema and Melanie Gibb and all of them really believing all this garbage. And again, Lori knew the children were dead. Lori knew that they tried to, they actually murdered Charles but didn't get the insurance money. Melanie Pawlowski wants to tell Detective Pillar the day after the shooting, Lori was being threatened from Arizona. You damn right. They were going to damn bust her ass on that. And make no mistake, y'all, we talked about it years ago when they impounded that Jeep. And of course, again, they didn't say, where's the Jeep or anything like that after it had been impounded. That lit a fire under Chad and Lori even more. They knew the gig was about to be up. Just said, Jay, I hope that Melanie Gibb and Zulema take the stand to defend Lori. Not that they want to, because they deserve to be on the hot seat, because they didn't get charged. Melanie Pawlowski should be in there. And these jurors have got to ask the question, why isn't Melanie Pawlowski testifying here? And you got to ask the question, why wouldn't the state want to direct exam Melanie Pawlowski, huh? So anyway, here in about an hour, hour and a half, maybe two, I don't know. They're going to start again, get to Crescia K. Easton of Difficult Research. Y'all, again, I'm going to go the day after each day of trial, copy with KJ to the best of my ability, give you my thoughts. Please leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for being here. But y'all, the bottom line is if I came to you in the evening after each day of trial, your brain would be squirming from the day's activities anyway. It's a lot to take in. Let's all absorb it. Let's all get a little justice through understanding. And thank you again for all that you are. I love you. We'll get ready for this day 2 of the trial. Keep on looking.